Hey dancers, welcome back to our channel. I'm Julie and I'm the owner and one of the instructors here at Broche Ballet. We're a ballet school just for grown-ups in Denver, Colorado. Today I have the wonderful and fabulous Allie, Allie on Pointe on Instagram if you have followed her. We are so happy to have you on today, Allie. Today we're going to be talking about some of the biggest mental challenges that our dancers and some of Allie's followers face. All right, dancers, before we get started, please make sure you do like, subscribe, and share our videos if you are enjoying them. It really does help us out. All right, so first, I want to talk a little bit about and get your perspective on how to maintain motivation when progress seems like it has slowed to a stop. So you've done your 10,000 single pirouette and still haven't landed any. Maybe you still can't get that échappé in center off the bar. You feel like you still can't keep your legs turned out enough in a round de jambe, and you feel like you're grinding week after week and not making any progress. How do you maintain motivation to get yourself over that next hump, which inevitably will come, but can feel like it's a long way away?
So I guess some of the things, because that's like the worst feeling when you're like, oh, look, I've been doing the same thing for a year and it looks the same. But I guess looking at different aspects of it that maybe have improved, like say maybe you're still not really landing a good pirouette, but your pirouette's looking more turned out, or your balance looks more like you're balancing a little better. Because I noticed, especially lately, like if I've been doing more classes, my balances, especially in turns and stuff, are better. My turns still look terrible, but my balancing is getting better and my leg is more turned out because I'm like struggling to still get out of the jazz pirouette phase. So like little things like that are good to notice. And like even like maybe looking at different approaches to the technique that may help, like maybe what you're doing isn't working. Mm-hmm. And like asking a teacher for different like thoughts on it, or looking on YouTube videos for different ways that people have explained it that may just explain how things work better.
Yeah, I think that's your first point on the little progress. I think is really important because ballet is a journey of many steps, thousands of steps of improvement. So it's good to see those. Do you ever find it helpful? I know you do a lot of posting of videos and pictures on your Instagram. Do you find it helpful at all to like look back at the to help you kind of see your progress, or is it a lot of it kind of in your head and what you see in the mirror that you notice?
Definitely. Like even just looking back at some, like I've had my ups and downs with it. Like when I first started back, it was pretty bad. And if I watch those now, I'm cringing. And when I look at like maybe 2 years ago, when I was like taking a ton of classes and doing a lot of stretching at home and a lot of extra stuff, things were looking better. And then I kind of got off of that for a while and I gained a bunch of weight and like, so things changed. But then now looking back again at where things are kind of heading back. So it's kind of like a little bit of a roller coaster, but like still seeing the change is really, I think, helpful that's more why I try to film things rather than because I post it, because I don't really post videos that often. It's more for me to be like, oh, look, I have actually improved a bit.
Yeah, it's hard to see because you always want more, right? Like every time you get something right, you want it to be more. So your knee is out to the side and it's like, cool, let's get it out to the side farther. Got that single, cool, let's get that double. We're always like looking for more, and it can be really hard to be happy with the fact that you came so far already. It's hard to celebrate that little success. And then I think on your second point, if something's not working, try something else. I think that's something that we forget about sometimes, where you go in day after day, week after week, trying the same approach, trying the same mental image of things. And that different perspective can actually be quite huge in terms of helping you get the next leap forward. So instead of banging your head against the wall, trying to do the same thing, it's a great idea to read some books, watch some videos, talk to some friends, ask your teacher, other ideas, maybe take some private lessons, do something to get out of your rut, and try something else.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I always say this is my most facetious correction. If someone's balancing and falling, say, stop falling that way. That's a really annoying correction, but literally if you fall to the left every single time, stop it, fall to the right, fall to the front, fall to the back, like literally do anything other than what you normally do, and you might see some progress.
Yeah, definitely.
I think our second big question that we get is sort of along the lines of, if I can't be a professional, what's the point? Or should I even bother trying to do ballet? I'm curious on your thoughts on that. Why do you do it? Why do you see other people doing it that you're close to in your circles? What are your thoughts on that question?
I think if you're looking at it at the perspective of, if I'm not going to be a professional, why bother? Then it's probably not something that you really should be doing, because if the passion's not there, that you just want to dance and that you just want to do ballet just for the heck of doing it, then you're probably not in the right place for you. Because I mean, it's really, I think you have to have that passion, especially as an adult dancer. You have to have that passion. You have to have that motivation to keep yourself going to class, not just because of where you'll end up eventually, but just because doing it makes you happy. Like even I had a thing today came up, and it wasn't exactly ballet, but like one of my biggest goals that I always wanted to do was do something like be a dancer in a show at like Disney World or in a parade there. And I just happened to look today because I was like, oh, what the heck? And there's auditions next week. And I can't go because work and life and being an adult and everything. And I'm like so sad that like that really probably could never be something I could do, because I can't just pack up and move down there to be in a show. But like looking at that though, I'm like, but I love dancing. So maybe if I can find something more like that along the lines here, it's just something that makes me that happy. It's not like I want to do it because I want that career. I want to do it because dancing makes me happy.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's super cool. And I think there's so many of those fun opportunities, even for adults. And even if you can't pack up your life and move, right? Like your life is, you know, sort of generally pretty concrete in an area. Once you're an adult, you've got a job and a family, and, you know, parents take care of whatever you've got going on. But yeah, it's fun to find those opportunities. And I think you're right about wanting to find joy in the process. Back a little bit to the motivation topic. If you don't find joy in the process, you're probably going to quit pretty soon, because it's a long process, as we were saying. So if you don't enjoy the way there, it's going to be a very unenjoyable road, because it's a long way.
Yeah. I can't imagine doing it and sticking with it as much if I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I did that when I was younger. My mom forced me to ballet class for years, and I hated it. And I always asked if I could quit ballet because I just liked jazz and I wanted to stick to that. Now I'm kind of kicking myself in the butt for that, but
right, the irony.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's all about that passion. And I always tell my dancers, you know, the fact that you chose me, like us, after your workday and not the couch on Netflix, like you know, you might have had a really stressful day, you know, there's a glass of wine waiting for you at home, and you chose ballet class. That's like a really big deal. And that takes the kind of dedication that only the passion can really bring to you. If it was you know, if it was boring, or you were really only after the end goal of something, it would be really hard to find that motivation to actually get off the couch, drive to the studio, get to class, put the leotard on, do the whole thing. So that's really a big part of it.
And that actually reminded me, that's another reason of why I personally like to do it, is not just for the dancing, but like ballet is so technical, and so like you really have to think about so much when you're in class, no matter what you're doing, that like if I've had a hard day, if something's stressing me out, the second I'm in there, I've forgotten what was bothering me until I walk out of class.
Totally. I love that about it. Even as a teacher, I find that that's like my most meditative part of the day, because there's so much to think about. You know, as a dancer, there's so much to think about. And it's like those problems will be there when you leave, I promise. And if they go away, that's great. If they're not there when you leave, that's even better. But I promise they'll be waiting for you when you leave this room. You can leave them out there. It's nice.
Yeah.
Last question here. I want to ask you a little bit about your inner critic. So we all have one of these. It's usually not a super kind voice who talks in the back of your head and tells you things like, why can't you get a pirouette? It's not that hard. Or like, why can't you just turn your legs out? Or how come you ate that extra burrito for lunch? Or like whatever that little voice is telling you, whatever you're seeing in the mirror, whatever's going on. How do you quiet that voice? Do you quiet that voice? And, you know, how do you find that that impacts your ability to kind of talk to yourself about technical things? Like how do you correct yourself technically without critiquing yourself on a personal level?
I can't say I'm the best at not critiquing myself. I'm
Join
really
the
hard
club.
on myself. And I think that's everybody. And
Yeah.
So especially one of the things that's been harder for me is like getting a lot of the like negativity and bullying from Instagram, that those are kind of the things that stick with me more than my own critics are. Like most of the time those bullies are kind of right in the things that they say. Like it's not coming from them not being truthful about it.
Right.
So like I see those things and I'm like, I mean, yeah, I know that's bad, but I'm working on it. And then I just kind of have to take that with, but like look at where I've come from to where I am now. And even like I said, like about a few months ago and stuff, I had noticed like over the fall and winter, I gained a bunch of weight. For me, at least, I mean, I'm 5'2". If I gain 5 pounds, you see it. So like, I maybe not as much as people think, but for me, I did. And so like every time I put on a leotard, every time I did stuff like where I wasn't in frumpy clothes, I could tell, and I didn't like it. And but at the same time, like I wasn't really working towards not doing that. I was eating all the fast food. I was laying on the couch. I was struggling to go to class and do things. So like the second I got more into that, I noticed a positive change. And like that's part of it too, is just the motivation to see the change. I used to stretch all the time and do TheraBand exercises. That happens like once a month now, maybe. So like if I really wanted to see those changes and be more positive, I need to put more into it. And I see that as it's my own fault if I'm not getting the progress that I want, because I'm not really trying as hard as I used to be. So, and as far as like, I feel like finding things that make me feel more comfortable when I'm dancing, like there are leotards that I reserve for the bare, like the last resort leotards that I'm like, those don't look good on me. But so you just got to find things that, you know, you feel comfortable in when you're dancing. And it doesn't have to be a leotard. Most adult ballet places just want you in what you feel comfortable in. It doesn't have to be a strict ballet outfit. I see most of the time, the other people in my classes are not dressed like I am. They're in like yoga pants and like a flowy tank top and things like that. I just prefer to dress more like a ballet dancer.
Yeah, for sure. I think you make a lot of good points, you know, especially about some of the external criticism, making your own voice louder, and kind of reinforcing some of those negative critiques that you already have about yourself. I think sometimes, because I get some as well online, and I think sometimes the things that we're most insecure about ring the loudest when someone else says it. And so, you know, you feel afraid that someone will notice X, Y, Z, then they do, and you're like, oh no, they saw it, right? So like, it's sort of almost makes your biggest fears come true, which can be difficult, but also weirdly, I find in a way a little bit freeing in a very strange way, because, you know, people can say all this mean stuff, but like, I'm still dancing. It's not like it didn't change. It didn't actually change anything. Like they can be over there doing that thing, and I'm over here doing this thing. And it's like, I mean, their voice doesn't actually change anything unless I let it change something about myself and my own mental image. And I think it's whether or not that's your inner voice or someone else's voice, I think it's the same kind of approach where you have to know that it's there. You have to recognize that it's there. It's sometimes easier to recognize a bully on the internet than it is to recognize your own brain bully, which can be sometimes just as mean, but you have to like recognize that it's there and then work against it. And like you said, if you want these things to progress, you know, work harder, work towards those goals. And that can almost empower you to get past that, because you're doing something about it, not just feeling helpless against the inner voice or the external voice.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the other key too, is like, especially with like what other people say is not, and I know that's really hard to do, but not letting that make you like quit ballet. Like take it with a grain of salt. A lot of the ones I get are like 11 years old. And I'm like, I'm 30, you're 11.
Right. Yeah. And well, and it could be from them, or it could be from a teacher who says an offhand comment that might rub you the wrong way. You know, every once in a while you'll see some, you know, one of the dancers in our community post about a teacher who said something negative that made them feel really bad about themselves. You know, not that the teacher would ever mean to, but in the course of the class, or how how the class is going, sometimes things can come out that don't come across the way you might mean them. And it could sound hurtful to the person on the receiving end of it. And even with that, it's like that was one comment. You have a lifetime of dancing, or, you know, however long you have ahead of you of dancing. And this one comment, you know, it shouldn't be the reason why you stop. You know, the comments in your head, these little things shouldn't be the reasons that you stop doing it. There's really, I mean, if you love it, you got to keep doing it. That's what you're saying. You know, it's for the passion, for the joy of dancing. And these little things are just blips along the way, and, you know, use them as fuel to be like, I'll prove them wrong.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap up here. Any last questions or tips that you really hear and that you really want our dancers in the adult ballet community to know and kind of leave with?
I don't know that I have any tips or anything. I don't know.
What is like one last, like, what's your favorite part of ballet class? Maybe we can get into that. Like what brings you the most joy in class? Do you have something that you really like the most?
I mean, I personally I am one of those weird people. I like Adagio.
I do
and
too.
I like Grand Allegro. I hate Petit Allegro. I can't do it to save my life.
That means you got to work on it the most.
I know. I will say though, it has gotten so much better than it used to be, but it's still not good. And I think at bar, like my favorite thing is Grand Battements because I like kicking my legs really high.
That's always fun.
Yeah. So those are my favorite. I don't know. I feel like Adagio and Grand Allegro are the ones where I feel like I can dance it more. And I feel like Petit Allegro, I'm just struggling to even remember what the heck I'm supposed to do with my foot next, that it doesn't come out dancing at all. It comes out like a robot if I even hit the steps.
That's funny. I feel like Petit Allegro could be a topic of an entire like 50 to 100 series video conversation.
Yeah.
So much to it. Well, Allie, thank you so much for joining us today. I had so much fun chatting with you, and I hope everyone at home had a lot of fun and is excited to get back into the studio, get back into class. It was a lot of fun to chat with you today.
Yeah, it was so great to chat with you too.
So great. Well, until next time, dancers, take care.